If you're thinking of becoming a UI/UX designer or you are just starting out, this video is for you. In this video, we'll be covering things I actually wish somebody would have told me before I became a UI/UX designer. So let's dive into the video. So the first thing I actually wish somebody would have told me before I became a UI/UX designer is that UI/UX is beyond a digital product or an app looking aesthetically pleasing. So one major thing you should have in mind is that as a UI/UX designer, you are solving a problem. So even if your app looks very good and it does not solve a problem, users are not actually going to be using it, and that means the main reason why that app was created, because before a digital product, before an app is being designed in the first place, you need to have it in mind that it's actually like solving the need of a particular group of people. So you need to know the reason why you are designing that particular app before you start designing in the first place. So when you have that in mind, you can mix aesthetics and functionality together to design a digital product that people can use seamlessly and they can also enjoy to use. So back then I was always like coming up with designs that look good, so most times I'm always looking out for people to say, oh, the design looks good. I was thinking if a design looks good, that means it's good. It is that most times as beginners we end up like designing something that I would love to call like beautiful nonsense, something that is not functional, something that does not solve a problem, something that cannot be used by the actual users that are facing those problems. So that's one thing I wish someone would have told me before I became a UI/UX designer. So the second thing I actually wish somebody would have told me before I became a UI/UX designer is not to underestimate user research. So the thing is that user research actually gives you clarity of what you are designing for, because before you start designing in the first place, you need to know the people that you're designing for, the needs and the challenges they have, the problems that they face. Because the reason why people use an application in the first place is because they are using it to solve their personal problem. So if, for example, you know the set of people that have this particular problem that you want to design for, so you will know how to come up with designs that can actually solve their problem. So user research helps you to know their behavior, the way they think, the way they do their things, the kind of problem they are facing, how they are managing that problem, because that like gives you like a broader view of what you are doing. It helps you to come up with your problem statement, come up with user personas, user journey maps, all those kind of things. Because that's one thing that I was actually like skipping when I first started UI/UX, and I would just rush to the high fidelity, and most times the designs that I came up with, they might look aesthetically pleasing but they cannot be used because the design is not solving the problem. Like if your designs are research driven, you actually come up with digital products that people will always want to use. Because one thing you should also look out for is, when I design this particular app, people I'm designing it for, are they actually deriving joy from using this application that I designed? So that's one thing you should always ask yourself as a UI/UX designer. Most times as beginners, we always think that, oh, when we design, that means our work has finished, or when we are being paid. The thing is that your work has not actually finished. You need to test your work to be sure that it can the people that you design for, even though you have done your research, you need to test your work on real users to be sure that it actually solves their problem. So this is one of the strategy that most of all these big tech companies they use to improve their designs. So you can see something like WhatsApp now, they are always improving their UI. Sometimes you might come to WhatsApp and you have discovered, oh, there is an update. That's because they keep learning from their users, their user base. They know what their user need. They understand the challenges their users are facing. So they come up with designs and solutions that solve that user problem. So that's why you see most of all these big tech companies like Facebook, using their app is very, very addictive, because they create their app to meet every need of their user. Even as a UI/UX designer, you need to know some things about psychology too. You need to know how the human mind works, how the human beings think, how they behave, all those kind of things. It will guide you to create digital product that they will love using. So as a beginner in UI/UX designer, so most times we don't really know how to like handle feedback or criticism on our work. So the best thing is that one thing you need to know is that whenever you are starting out, you're not always going to get things right. So most times you need to pay attention to the feedback that might be coming from your boss, your project manager, or the client you are working with. So most times beginners, you tend to like go through several iterations. Like you design the first thing, the client or your manager might not be okay with it. They'll tell you, okay, go back to the drawing board or cancel this design and go back again. The thing is that despite the fact is it looks very difficult, like getting being your work being criticized, sometimes it can be very stinging, but the thing is that it actually helps you to improve your work as a designer, because without your work being criticized, you won't know where you are faulting, you won't know where you are having fault, because most times junior designers tend to be emotionally connected with their design. So I advise, as a designer starting out, you don't need to be emotionally attached to your work, because most times in your eyes your work might look very good, it might look very perfect, but the thing is that other people that are seeing it, and especially if it's the client that knows the business need and the goal of the project, they are seeing it from their business point of view or from the overall vision they are having for that project. So they will have to like correct you in what you are doing, so that what you are designing will be in line with what they need. So when I first started out, I was always struggling with handling feedbacks from clients, handling feedback from project managers, all those kind of things. That was because I was emotionally tied to my work. So over the years, I just realized that for you to actually design something that is in line with what your project manager expects, that you need to reason from the point of empathy. Because whether you like it or not, your project manager or your boss or the project owner that hired you has the vision of the project. So most times when you come up with designs of a junior design, you don't get it, they are the ones that is going to like correct you, give you feedback on your work. So most times it can lead to like cancellation of some designs that you have done. But in that process, that's when you learn a lot. As a designer, you need to learn how to come out of your work and see it from the eyes of the user that is using it, or see it from the eyes of your boss or your project manager. Because most times we as junior UI UX designer, we tend to just have some kind of bias, like we feel, oh, because I'm the one that created the design, that means the design is going to work. The thing is that most times your first iteration of any design at all for any project is not always going to be in line with the project goal. So what I'm trying to say is that your first iteration might have one or two things missing, which is normal. So the thing is that you always need to have the mindset of iterating until you get a design that works. Most times you are going to experience this, especially when starting out. You're always going to be coming up with designs. Most times you might have some screens that has to be cancelled. So why that actually happens is because there is also a business need that has to be met, and most times your project manager or your boss will always have a lot of meetings with you for you to like be in sync with the business need. So I always advise that as a UI UX designer, you need to have interest in the business side of what you are designing, because what you're actually going to be designing for is actually going to bring the company you are working for money in the long run. Because there is no company that invests money in creating a digital product that will want to make money in the long run. So you need to understand the business need. Despite the fact you understand the project vision, the users need, and all those kind of things, try as much as you can to prioritize understanding business. This is one of the things that was actually lacking when I first started. I was just thinking it's just all about Figma designs, all those kind of things. But as a UI UX designer, you need to be open to learning. You need to have a broader mind, know the business. How does the business work? How does the application work? What makes them to make money? What are their KPIs? What do they expect when the app is being launched? What is the user, how does the user see the app? How are they using? Most times you need to be very inquisitive. As a UI UX designer, you need to put yourself into the work. Most times you need to like feel the shoes of your user, feel the shoes of your project manager, of your boss. What I mean by that is like understanding things from their own point of view. So that's like one major thing I wish someone would have actually sat me down to tell me. If not, I wouldn't have some little clashes I had in the past with some clients. So the next tip now is that tools does not make you a UI UX designer. So back then when I started, I was always thinking, oh, learning everything about Figma software makes me a UI UX designer. The thing is that no, it doesn't. What actually makes you a UI UX designer is actually coming up with designs that solve a problem, learning design principles, knowing how to do user research, competitive analysis, all those kind of things. That's what makes you a UI UX designer, asking the right questions, not just focusing on, oh, this button look great, asking the right questions to understand the business, is like what I've mentioned earlier. So all those things is actually what makes you a UI UX designer, understanding the psychology of how users are going to be using your application. It's not all about, oh, me just knowing Figma. No, it's beyond that. You need to know how user research, how do people behave. All these things actually makes you a UI UX designer. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so that you can get notified whenever I upload videos like this. So let me know in the comment section lessons you learned or questions you have about starting out in UI UX design. See you in my next video. Bye.